that he plays a little bit more for the team than other mid laners we've seen, and the stats back it up. He only spends 55.5% of his time in the mid lane in early game, and that's the lowest out of all mid laners in play-in. So he's roaming to both side lanes more than anybody else we've seen so far.
And we'll see where he puts that support today, as stakes are high for both of these teams. Win and in, you lose out, and you are done here at your MSI run as we end game 1. EVOS Esports on the blue side, BAU SuperMassive on the red. Interestingly enough, Karma Rakan banned out by EVOS, noticing the tournament meta thus far, and the Kazakhs and Kaisa gonna follow.
Yeah. Kazakh makes a lot of sense because there were 26 bans against Yijin's Kazakhs, and he's 5-0 on it, so this was the most banned champion against EVOS.
Yeah, alongside the Camille's the other big champion that you have to be removing from EVOS. So Kazakhs, Camille, the two expected. Kaiser because they're on the red side. Rakan being banned is a very good decision away from Snowflower, indicates they don't want to pick it first, but Thresh is still that other support.
That's the big one. Banned in every game against Snowflower. We know he's an incredible playmaker, but we know that from the TCL, not from this stage. This man has not gotten a chance to play that champion, but maybe today is the first day as the Rise is banned out, and that Camille that you mentioned, Rusty, is up and available if Stark wants to go for it.
Makes you wonder if they will go towards it as a first pick. It's usually not going to be seen immediately. It's no longer flex like it used to be at the start of the split. You can see already they veered away from going for their jungler, their top laner rather, super early in place of getting priority on that Trundle.
Yeah, I think that a lot has to do with the fact that these top laners, they have a lot of counter picks, but GP jumps out to me as one that you can play blind and focus the bottom side of the map, go away from the GP lane, play safe, and then you're going to have a good time.
For now, however, not going to see the top laners locked in. BAU SuperMassive taking their time on the first rotation. Caitlyn going to be picked up. Morgana, another support we've seen contested in the pick ban phase that is still available, but EVOS locking in the Trundle does answer a lot of the questions that we had coming into this matchup, gentlemen, because in their finals, it was something that we saw pretty much ignored by them in the pick ban phase.
Yeah, I thought Morgana was actually a really good champion to pick up, but they were playing on 8-5. A lot of teams hadn't really figured out the Kate Morgana, and there we go, the GP, 3 times. This will be the 4th time for Fat Fabulous in the top lane.
And I think to bring it back to that Morgana as well, this will be one of the new times that you'll see Morgana once again, denied perhaps away from the Caitlyn Morgana composition. But when you talk towards the gangplank, you know that you can't give this over to Fab. That's the name of the game here for the most part.
Gentlemen, we could not have asked for a better topside matchup. Stark, a legendary Camille player, and we've already seen what Fab Fabulous can do in this tournament on the gangplank. Bot side may still be the focus, we're going to find out, but top lane is now set to be explosive, and EVOS rounding out their first pick phase with the Azir as well.
You're probably looking towards a support here as the last pick in third, depending on if they want to match their junglers, or they're just going to go for mid. They saw the Azir. They're comfortable picking that role.
And we're seeing a lot come out here that's good for both teams. GBM back on the Vladimir. He loved the flanks with this. Remember, they played a Vladimir gangplank composition earlier in the tournament that was all about dealing damage. Screw having tankiness, especially up against a Trundle. They go full out in the damage department here. And we are talking about the damage department for the BCS now, the Camille. 8-1 for Stark, and it's the 2nd most banned champion against them with 16 bans behind the Kazakhs.
Yeah, so when you look at the lanes that they pick for themselves now, I would say that most of them have got priority champions for their own respective team. They're both picking for their own respective styles as well, and only now in the 2nd ban phase, a denial ban starting to come across as a reactionary pick to what a composition starts to become. And I think Morgana and Shen, first examples of that.
Shen absolutely taking away something you don't want to give her to Ron OP. We've seen him be very good individually and helps to contribute to the top side play style. The Thresh from Snowflower finally getting banned away, and additionally the Morgana that we mentioned earlier when the Caitlyn locked in, not going to get a chance to go into that 2nd pick phase.
Man, I'm just looking down these players' play rates, and right now, EVOS are definitely feeling good. The Azir is the most played champion for Warzone, 9-2. He has 11 plays on it. His next highest is 5 plays, so he's definitely been favoring that Azir. The Camille for Stark, we're looking at a composition for EVOS that is right in their wheelhouse, but SuperMassive, same story.
And this is interesting, the Tahm Kench now locked in here. Everyone was saying with the nerfs, it's not going to be as powerful, priority would fall down. Braum remained pretty high priority in the tournament, but Tahm Kench, not a pick we've seen as much on 8-8.
And I thought it would be a Braum instead, but and even here, I would think it would be a Braum with the Ezreal.
And what's interesting here is that Taric has been locked in by EVOS. It's a champion that they do play in the support role. It's great into Vladimir and Gangplank with consistent damage output where you can continue to 5v5. But the Tahm Kench locked in here, to me, they know it's going to be a Taric. They know it's going to be like that pick, and the Braum doesn't actually do well into the Taric.
I'm going to have to cut you off because that is a Kindred being locked in.
Let's go.
The first one on 8-8. Yes, Cyrene, let's go. This is a champion that I've been wanting to see for so long.
The thing I love about this is EVOS drafted somebody who's going to make the team immune. Tarek's going to have the ultimate come down. Kindred will do the same thing and say, all right, we're just going to have these long skirmishes. The team fights are going to be popping off in this game.
I want to see it. I want to see how it's going to unfold, but we're rounding out the pick and ban. We're starting to see where every champion is going. So what do we actually expect from these compositions? What are both teams trying to do? Is it the bot side focus as predicted, or are both these guys going to mix it up?
I think that the VCS will focus the top side of the map with the Camille, but I think that SuperMassive are going to focus the bottom side of the map here pretty heavily.
Yeah, what's curious though with the whole composition that's finished now by SuperMassive is there's really no crowd control to be seen. They've got a lot of damage, they've got a lot of consistent damage, burst damage, you name it, they have it. They can survive for a long time. But they don't have anything to start fights off by going forwards and using that crowd control. A lot of it is about the flank plays, and that's where I think GBM is the person to look towards.
Exactly. Watch the GP ultimates, watch the flank positioning from GBM approaching the fights. That's how SuperMassive will start them off. And EVOS, they want to get down and dirty. Stark will be the one jumping in, and then you'll have the Tarek to follow.
And we've been waiting to see this Camille from Stark for a while. It's been banned away so much. Hasn't gotten the chance to play it in so long. Gets it in his first game. That's got to feel good.
You want to talk about getting champions in your first game. Stark's Camille, we talked about it 8-1. Warzone's Azir, his most played this split. Slay's Ezreal, his most played this split with 13 games. Ron OP's Tarek, 9-0, his most played. This is comfort across the board for the VCS.
Absolutely is. Here we go, folks. First game, best of 5. EVOS Esports versus BAU SuperMassive at MSI 2018. Winner, second spot in that group stage. Loser will go home empty-handed. And gentlemen, as we get in, there's a lot to track with the junglers. And Kindred, Zyrene, you are our resident jungle expert here on this desk. I got to ask, what do we actually expect from this champion in the early game?
I expect him to go for a lot of those marks in the jungle. You take Celerity Water Walking so you can contest them, and especially up against the Trundle, I actually think it's a really good matchup for the Kindred where you can keep him at arm's distance. If he puts the pillar down, you're able to hop over it once he approaches, and it basically hinders him from closing the distance instead of you.
Yeah, a lot of good kiting, and then of course having the utility at level 6 for the composition, something that is very good for the Kindred. But the pre-6, if you ever fall behind even from that, if a gank's successful, let's say Warzone or Stark is unlocked to actually roam freely into the jungle and they find you, you tend to just stay behind. So it's really important that they start strong early.
And I think also when we look at it, you're going up against Yijin here. This is in general a jungler you probably don't want to fall behind against. He will take everything from you, so pretty risky already off the bat in terms of pick ban. However, interestingly from the Trundle, not an itemization choice we're used to seeing, but does go with the Rejuve feed to start it off.
He goes Rejuve feed, no leash on top side, as they're trying to just harass on the bottom side of the jungle here and get some Klepto stacks for Slay. He already got a little bit of gold earlier from a Q, but yeah, I feel like what this means for Yijin is he's going to go Tiamat.
Yep.
Something that a lot of Trundles don't really do. I think it's pretty popular in the LPL.
Yes. So when you're against the farming jungler, someone that wants to get to 6 and tends to, they might not invade you, they might not harass you. Kindred usually quite low in her early clear. You go for the Rejuve bead, you rush Tiamat, and then you can take Raptor camps. You have more priority on different camps, and the most important thing against Kindred is to try and deny her marks. And so you get to the scuttle faster perhaps in the early game, and then you start to hard farm for the rest of it. And getting the scuttles is a bit of extra gold, so may speed up that timing.
And speaking of scuttles, Yijin did full topside clear into the scuttle crab here. That's actually really good because normally if you do a 2 clear into the other side, you put yourself in a position where you can't pivot to whichever side. Look at that.
Stun Slay going inside. I may already go down. First blood! That is the explosiveness we expected from the VCS team, but not this quickly in the game.
They hit the double stun there, and they hit level 2 first. So yeah, they all in, and Slay, he doesn't get the kill, but he's the one who puts a lot of the effort in here. Ron OP, this right there.
Yeah.
Whoa. You want to have the Tong Kench not be with them, and even level 2 there.
Level 1, he can't eat the Caitlyn. He can't stop the damage. Beautiful use of that level 2 spike on the bot lane.
And if you don't know EVOS, now you do. If you don't know the Vietnamese region, now you do. They're aggressive. They will go forwards. The pure confidence that is there. They constantly fight in that region. They are insanely aggressive.
And that's what you see. The CKPM, this is nuts. Almost one person dies a minute, people. Yeah. That is the standard for their league, and they're even lower than the standard. This is a non-bloody Vietnamese team.
Yeah, CKM is combined kills per minute. That's basically how bloody the game is, how many kills and deaths there are. Vietnam, as a region, just has a lot. We saw there, it was 0.82 for the average of the region. EVOS, even though they're one of the highest in the entire tournament in CKPM, in their region, they're second to last. The region is really bloody.
Oh, well, it looks like SuperMassive made trying to fire back. The trap is there. They're coming through, looking for the third stack on the Kindred. Another kill return. Double TPs now coming in. Triple TPs, but it's going to be canceled. Fabulous is there. Stark, one stack, is going to get knocked back by the pillar. Nice play by Yijin to save, but is it going to be enough? Auto attacks come through. SuperMassive definitely coming out on top in the play.
Yeah, really good pick onto Ron OP there, knowing he had no flash from the early aggression. They continue under the turret here as well. They're trying to keep this bottom lane down as the minion wave starts to crash. May even be able to deny a cannon here with the pressure. That's a really good counter engage from SuperMassive, acknowledging what happened before.
And this is the bot side focus we were talking about earlier. Once again, earlier than we may have expected, but everybody willing to burn those TPs just to show up for the fight.
And this makes it so that once you get those summoner spells, the GP ultimate's even more effective. They didn't get much, though, out of EVOS. They were expecting to get a little bit more there from SuperMassive side, to get some flashes maybe from Slay or even from Yijin, so that it would be something that's more effective the next time.
And this is the kind of all-in play style we're just going to continue to see from the VCS. And the question was, of course, if they go fast enough, is SuperMassive actually going to be able to come up or keep up in this matchup? And they are able to match on that bottom lane play for now, but I think they're going to have to keep this tempo going if they want to stay going toe-to-toe with EVS.
And you want to talk about tempo, so look at the EVS jungler, Yijin. He's just been hanging out, getting the Tiamat first item before anything else. He just rushes the Tiamat after he got a longsword. So no jungle item just yet. He's focusing on clearing, potentially counter jungling, and that increases Trundle's clear speed, so he's going to be in a good position to be aggressive.
And of course, knowing EVOS and how they like to play, that's not going to be the safest decision. They've got the Azir for the mid lane as well, who doesn't have absolute control in mid, tends to ramp up in strength. So whilst they're clearing the jungle now and may look for invades, I will say that he does anyway, but he doesn't always have priority from his laners.
Yeah, but I think he can play at the top side here. He can play off of Stark, who's a very aggressive top laner.
Yeah, we call this guy, I think, the risk taker is the most appropriate name for Stark, because this man, he goes in just like that, but generally over and over again. Neither you win the fight and he dies, or he kills you. You do not get to play standard League of Legends against him.
Yeah, some people say risk taker. I say space maker. He's going to have that board percentage. He pushes you in. That's second highest in all of VCS, by the way. That's not even just his role. His board percentage is absurd. His solo kills are number one. His isolated deaths, he does get killed and caught out a few times, so the punish does happen. But hey, when you make space, look at that.
Looking to isolate people, uses the pillar to bounce off. Nice team play there. Means Fab goes down. Well played.
That's just super clean, honestly, out of those two as a duo, utilizing the pillar as well to go forwards. That's a combo you don't often see. Of course, it's firstly that it catch you out of position, but Stark holds the hook shot in the first place. He knows that Trundle's going to be there. They use the combo, they get the kills. No oranges are going to make anything K about that situation.
And you see Fabulous was up in CS there. Stark was falling a bit behind, but he was still aggressive. He was still kind of taking it to him in the matchup to chunk him out. And Fabulous said he knew that this was coming. When I asked him on the desk about his opponent, he said, I know they play through topside. I'm just not going to die. They make a liar out of him in the first 6 minutes here, and because they're so aggressive.
And that's the thing. We've seen how good they can play around the top side. And they're going to open up this top side 7 minutes in. Fab's going to do what he can to stop it, but the gold split between the two guys, and this is who you want to get ahead on this EVOS team, jungler and top lane.
You can see Sturmage now moving to the other side of the map, perhaps to try and get a trade, but you can't really dive your opponents. You have to pressure them out with damage first. However, when you look towards Slay and Ron OP, there is a lot of missing health there. They do have to respect this quite a lot. It's just that the rest of EVOS now, they've been unlocked. The turret's already gone, now they're missing. Do they come down and help?
SuperMassive for now are going to fire back. They got that Ocean earlier, so small objectives going in their favor, but the gold lead definitely still in favor of EVS here in the early game. Now as we continue, I want to check in on the rest of the lanes. GBM, this is a guy we expected to kind of put pressure all around the map. He talked about it already when he locked around the Vladimir, but it does feel like he has been pretty locked into that mid lane so far.
And it's been a weird kind of selection here. He has the Ignite. I expect him to go for Shurelya's and potentially the Proto Belt on top of it. So he doesn't have Summoner Spellbook either, which is very common for Vladimir's to get TP or Ghost, but he's just being very aggressive and kind of playing for the lane phase here, but it hasn't amounted to much just yet. Taking the Airy and the Ignite, he hasn't been able to get anything done against Warzone, who's actually up in CS.
And, we kind of expect GBM to be this big playmaker for the team. We've heard from every player how big of an influence the two Korean imports on how this team likes to play the game. And Snowflower and GBM, both haven't really been freed up. Both haven't really been that active on the map quite yet, although this swap to topside may change that.
Yeah, this is what you expect, of course. A Caitlyn getting ahead, the siege style of play that they used through the early to mid game. You broke the turret, and what's good from EVOS is they traded and they got the first turret, but you know full well that Caitlyn's about to swap to the opposite side of the map, and they're pretty late to react here, EVOS.
They're very late to react, and also SuperMassive are going to have advantage in map position. They already got the Drake on the bottom side, so there's nothing to take, and then soon the Rift Herald will spawn, and if you have control of the top side of SuperMassive, you're going to be able to take more objectives on top of it. So the fact they got the bot lane and they swapped it is favoring them pretty heavily right now.
Now bowling out the Trundle, Ron OP there to heal up a little bit, but of course Ezreal's still pretty far out. Slay not going to make it to that tower too quickly. Most likely will be able to hold it, but SuperMassive doing a good job. And meanwhile on the bottom lane, Fabulous still enough wave clear to stop this Camille from doing much.
And now GBM has the Shurelya's completed. I want to see how aggressive he gets in this lane because Warzone has no defensive summoner. He has the TP, so the Ignite could actually pay off here for GBM in the future.
Yeah, he's not that defensive of a champion either, is the Azir. You have to use your E to disengage, get the shield, and run away straight away. And if you're using that, especially without blue buff, you tend to run out of mana pretty quickly through that lane.
TP behind.
Zaynot still going forward, though. There's two
double.
TPs going. Zaynot, I don't think was ready for this one. Snowflower is going to push back in. Beautiful spit out there coming in from Snowflower. Gives up his life in the end. Still a great game from EVOS, but Zaynot does manage to make it out.
Aggression constantly, no hesitation coming out of the Warzone now. Does have to be a little bit careful. They're trying to find him, but the pick in the top lane, well executed from Warzone and from EVOS, having 2 teleport locations.
They did manage to make it out Supermassive. They did save a little bit at least, but that very well could have been a double kill. And that confidence from Ron OP on this Taurex, so consistent in getting these fights kicked off.
And we were talking, like, in terms of engage, it's Stark and it's Ron OP that really do have to start them off. Warzone, if he gets aggressive, him too, but right on down the bottom side, here comes Stark again off the pillar.
Ulti pulling away, what little resistances are there. Not going to connect the stun, but doesn't need it. Hextech ultimatum going to cut right through that GP. But another fight on the top side. Stomage still alive. They're going to use the Caitlyn ulti, get a little bit of a heal. Gets in there with the tongue. Snowflower finding the kill.
Man, it's a bloody game already. It started off with EVOS being very aggressive, but their Supermassive do get one back onto Slay. And remember, they have to push that top lane wave, and so they'll have turret pressure in the near future here. But both teams are playing to what we talked about, their strength on the opposite side.
And a lot of the game plan, you're right, is trading on the opposite side of the map. So both people are strong in that respective lane, and Supermassive aren't diffusing the aggression, they're matching it. They're fighting fire with fire. We're going to hit a point in the mid game where it's a Camille against a Caitlyn. And it's just about who can do the most work between those 2 carries. And then you look at the rest of the team fighting, however, and this could be a very scary 5v5.
Well, I think it's good you bring up the Camille because one of the rock-solid members of the Supermassive lineup is Zaynot, and we saw this guy be clutch across the entire group stage leading up to this, and just generally has been looking good. Caught out once, but those forward percentage, that CS, that kill plus assist, this guy has been clutch.
Yeah, the CSD is actually ridiculous. At 15 minutes, almost up 18. That's bonkers, to be honest. And in this game, he's about 10 up right now at 12 minutes. So it may just get better for him since they knocked down that first turret. We'll see what it looks like at 15 minutes, but he's just been somebody they can rely on, and that's why they're giving resources to him.
I mean, the only person in the world that I've seen have a CSD that high is Uzi in his own respective
That's
league.
true.
And that's extreme.
Definitely intense. You see those all-star 80 carries in their respective regions usually dominate in that metric. Of course, dominating here on the group stage, impressive as well. But we look back at this one more time and just yet another well-executed play from EVOS.
Yep, love the hook shot off of the Trundle pillar there, the combo, something that I don't think people have really experimented or experienced in a long time. But they're able to just pick him up, and you saw there, Fabulous kind of knew he was dead to rights.
Flash forward. Slay gonna burn the flash as well. Good damage traded back though. Slay very patient. Ron OP comes in with the ulti. This will buy a bit of time. Kindred locked up, does throw down an ulti of her own. Buying a bit of space here as Snowflower now moves in. Just a replay.
Yep.
I missed the replay.
I didn't know how to
Jay.
let you down gently, Dracos. It was a replay, don't you worry.
Well, that's the part of the play that we missed, so I thought I would play-by-play cast over it. You gotta understand, Rusty, if I see someone killing someone on stage, you have to do that every time or I'll just start going.
No worries, I'll let you know earlier.
Mountain Drake, though, of course, next up for Supermassive, they've already gotten the Ocean, so it seems like in terms of objective control, outside of that first tower, Supermassive's still very much in control.
Yeah, they've been able to swap the map and get pressure in their lanes whenever they have found an objective that's up, because they even have the Rift Herald, they have the 2 other neutral objectives, and they've been actually really in control of the map. Whereas when I look at EVOS, even in their regular season, their Drake control was incredibly low despite being a dominant team. It was 55% Drake control. When you're a #1 team, and you still coin toss on Drakes, that's actually insane. It feels like EVOS don't favor Drakes at all, and they go more towards just lanes and skirmishes.
We're hitting the extreme point in this game where the constant pressure to the lanes of strength is continuing right now. Trundle hovering bottom lane, looking for an opportunity. Perhaps they may look towards the turret because, again, on the opposite side, you sit in the 2v2, you have a great time by, oh my god.
GPM with the all-in. Ignite's ticking, ult's going. Not going to burn down in the end, but it will force Warzone out of lane.
Doesn't force his flash, though. And down on the bottom side, another kill.
Flash out, but there's the Hextech ultimatum. Wants to buy a little bit more time. Does manage to hit the barrel. Reset there on the passive. They're taking so much damage in exchange. Is he going to get one back on Yijin? No. Great tower dive execute.
And that's another turret there. They're going to be able to trade them back, but they're actually losing 2.
Yeah, this is where SuperMassive come up clutch. They go to mid lane as well. They were already winning the 2v2. You have the Herald, you push out mid lane, get Warzone out of that lane. You know this is going to happen bottom. In fact, they're still pushing bot lane, but who's going to hold mid?
Tom Kench ulti there and immediately canceled, but it does force out the Taric ulti from Ron OP. Not 100% sure who is on the way. Caitlyn going to settle for the blue buff, but EVS just getting yet another tower here on the bottom side, extending the play.
That relentless aggression through the top side of the map right now. Stark 2, 0, and 2. 4 out of 5 kills have happened near him, and they're basically just picking on Fab Fabulous, who they had talked about on the desk, had a very good group stage, or I guess play-in stage so far.
And that comfort pick was Gangplank for him. This was the pick that he looked so good on. So in terms of a confidence play for game 1, to get your own comfort pick, hold that thought. Kendrick starts to chase down here a little bit. Tactical sweep for the slow does mean Stark will make it out. But the confident pick, the Camille versus the GP. If Fab Fabulous isn't winning here, he's got to start wondering, what matchup do I win up against this guy?
I don't think there is a matchup. I think it's the jungler just being there constantly. It's going to be very frustrating. There's a chance that in future your Gangplank becomes a Shen.
Are you saying top is jungle difference?
Bot lane, there's the Vladimir in the middle of everything. Is going to duck out. Ezreal inside Snowflower, but just gets cut down in the end. Yes, not ready for that play on top side. Great use of the Tom Kench ulti from Snowflower.
That's what you have to watch out for. There's multiple globals here on the side of SuperMassive. Sure, there's 2 TPs on the side of EVOS, but you have the GP ultimate, you have the Tom Kench ultimate. There's a lot of rotations that can come through here for SuperMassive very quickly, and we know them as a macro mid-game team.
Yeah, now as we check in the mid-game, we can see the gold just about dead even. 600 gold, not the biggest difference. Double Drakes, definitely in favor of SuperMassive.
Ooh, and I just love this purchase that came out here. The Spellbinder for GBM. So I thought it was going to be a Proto Belt, but he goes for more AP, a lot of movement speed on this, and once he stacks it up, it just gives him even more of both of those stats for a short burst when he engages.
And I feel like that's because he has the area as well, right? Doesn't have the spell books, not going to switch to the Ghost. We get to watch what happens in the top lane, which is basically just an annihilation of Slay's health bar extremely quick here.
I could cast this one, but there's not really a whole lot to say.
Yeah.
Free play.
They smacked around a little bit.
Yeah, got the stacks and then he was good to go, but still, the itemization here I'm seeing from both GBM and we're seeing it from Stomage. A lot of Kindreds end up going, not for Ruinant's Hurricane anymore, because the on-hit, people think the passive still does on-hit. No, for stacks, you get more range when you get 4 stacks, and then it starts going up, not as much as the first one, but you still get effective range, you get more attack speed from your Q, so we see a lot of static shivs come through, and sometimes the rapid-fire cannon, because you want a really long-range last shot.
And Stomage looking for that kill there. You talked about the Zeal, and of course, empowering all those abilities is important. Has hit that ever-crucial 4-stack mark. That is the first range increase. An extra 75 will make it a little bit easier to stay out of the reaches of that Trundle, as we can see Yijin aggressive as ever as he pushes in on the top side. But this game, gentlemen, so interesting. Camille, no one wants to pay attention to the Camille on the side of SuperMassive. She is left completely unattended on the bottom side, but of course, Cash or Curse, as I say that, there are members moving to respond.
It's a game of chicken, though. So, you know, who wants to actually respond first? Can Stark stay in a side lane forever, get the Trinity Force, split push, be a massive threat, or will he have to group and help up the rest of his team as Caitlyn continues to be aggressive, searching for turrets and getting further objectives down for the team? And in this game of chicken, you have to kind of wonder at what point it does break. They chose defensive items respectively for the top laners as well, so trying to continue that lane out for a bit longer.
And what I'm looking for is Baron, because Supermassive, in a neutral game, they will set up the Baron with vision, they will attempt to do it, they will bait you into fights. That's how they've been winning a lot of their games in the group stage. They have 100% Baron control rate in the 5 games that they played. Even the 6 games, because the one
they haven't given a Baron.
Right? They haven't given up a single one, and that's how they've been breaking the games open at this point.
And what's crazy is we're only 18 minutes in. We're still 2 minutes away from that point where Baron even comes onto the table as an objective. Now, we talked about EVS, they want to play a faster game. They want to keep it going at a quick pace. The game has slowed down. Is this actually in favor of SuperMassive now, if that's normally how they play?
I would say so. I would think it favors them a bit because they want to go ahead and scale up on all 3 of their lanes and feel like they're in a position where they can actually contest objectives and split the map instead of just constantly bleeding objectives over and over again to the EVS style.
Yeah, it helps a lot with the setup time, which where SuperMassive do excel compared to their opponents in this game. The fast pace generally has no hesitation. There might be some vision in place, of course, but they just go. When they see an opportunity, they do not slow down. And if the game is slow, then that does mean that EVOS are dancing to the beat of SuperMassive.
I want to see what kind of plays they go. Because I feel like on the opposite side for SuperMassive, you feel comfortable now, but when you know that at any moment EVOS will get aggressive, will go all in for any kind of play they can get, I think you're never 100% comfortable.
Absolutely, but we see even more scaling coming out here. It's the double tier build for the Ezreal. This has really good synergies. The fact he went Trinity Force as well, I believe, doesn't make it so that your adaptive stats actually go over to AP. They stay AD because you have that 25 from the Trinity Force. So this gives you a lot of damage behind your Muramana, gives you a shield, and it makes it so that you pretty much never end up running out of mana. You constantly just throw out the Qs. And you hit a really good point in CDR very early in the game at 45.
And important because one of the things we talked about is the SuperMassive approach to the draft, which, if I can quote you, was screw tankiness, no CC, and lots of damage. So a shield feels pretty important. GBM definitely going to not worry too much about that shield from Warzone because Warzone caught between a rock and a hard place. May just get taken down. Tide's Blood comes out. 1 kill. Going over to SuperMassive.
That might be the Cloud Drake on top of it. So they got the control of the bottom side. They collapsed on the Warzone, and now they're going to take another objective with full control of it.
They had the vision, they had the setup, and they're able to make the play, and it feels like finally, it took a little while in the game, but GBM got control of mid, and now he is unlocked. Just a player that constantly leaves his lane and influences the map, which is a major win condition for them, is now in effect.
Oh. I don't think he's actually going to continue fighting him. He's like, kind of flexing, feeling like there's more than one person there. But the big thing to note here is Yijin's the same level as Fabulous. Stark is 2 levels up over his opposing top laner, and that gives him a lot of split push pressure and potential to kill him. He might go in here because Yijin's wrapping back around.
Playing around the Baron.
They're going to do it.
It spawned at 20 minutes. The TP is coming in. GBM with no ulti. This may just be the window they need to force the fight. Snowmage so low. Keep your eye on that jungler. Maybe he can steal.
Watch the Kindred ultimate as well. He can go in and create a lot of distraction.
Where is he going to go? Stark goes over the wall. He takes him down. That should be the uncontested Baron. Who's going to get in the end? Trundle takes it. SuperMassive now looking for the fight. They got blood in their eyes, and they need to find some kills. They're going to bring it home. 2 for the Caitlyn, 1 for the GP. Snowflower looking to bite down on that Trundle. Troll for breakfast, not a problem. GBM cleaning it up.
Yeah, only Stark makes it out with the Baron buff, so he's the split pusher, but at the same time, SuperMassive gets to get more.
Yeah, definitely pushing forwards now with 4 people dead for 20-odd seconds, 10 on Ron OP. An opportunity to get a turret will at least present itself, equalizing the gold that has been gained by EVOS throughout that Baron buff. Now, there is a chance still to push forwards with that split pusher, but they have to group with him now, and suddenly that goes against what they're trying to do.
Exactly. It would just have to be off on the side lane. He has more pressure on the GP. But right now, that actually caught Fabulous up a little bit. And we said that SuperMassive hadn't given up a Baron all tournament. First Baron does go over to their opposition, but they end up having a little bit more out of it. They got more gold off of that trade, and now the gold is actually a little bit even with them ahead. And hold on, Stark's fighting.
3 members there. Fabulous is set to fall. Tom can try to get him out of the situation, but now Stark's the one running for his life. Doesn't manage to make it out.
I mean, that's the Baron buff, so if he died, that would have been fantastic for SuperMassive. It's good that he lives, but they do have to get the flash out of him. The summoner spell's gone. He has no teleport as well. Not the ideal situation to be Camilla.
And despite the fact that we thought the team would group, it's 3 members on the top side continuing to push her in. Still, we see so much support given over to Stark. As he pushes out that lane, now maybe we see the group in the mid lane, but for now they're backing to buy items. And we talked already once about how the breakneck pace of this team, of Vietnam as a region, can make it difficult to respond. SuperMassive, I think, looked pretty unprepared for this play.
Yeah, they looked unprepared, but at the same time, I think they approached it correctly. That's such an early Taric ultimate that they get to wait it out. Stark goes over, he's the one who has a lot of the gold to kill Snowmage, so he's not in this fight now, that they all get to push them up against the back of the wall. They weren't killing it fast enough, and Zeitnot got to just make a Trap-Palooza in the front of the pit so nobody can actually escape it through that route.
And you can see the idea with the Taric ultimate, but I think it was just a little bit too early from them. So the Baron was secured in the end, yes, but then they just go forwards and they are again.
Snowmage, Caitlyn ult's coming out, no one there to body block. Kindred on the hunt, one more auto to do it, takes him down, gets the red buff as well. Nice little prize there for SuperMassive. Oh, Ron OP He's in no man's land. He's going to get taken out as well. GBM with the casual kill.
No.
And now Stark might need to run. Multiple members coming down onto him.
He definitely has to run, but on the opposite side, they are pushing the bottom and the mid lanes here for EVOS.
Looking good for them. They're splitting up the map. They're creating space for each other to work with. Of course, losing 2 members not ideal, but they are going to get a tower in the process. It feels like SuperMassive aren't
Will they
quite
lose,
ready.
though? Will they lose anybody for this? Looks like, no, they're going to be able to regroup.
Yeah, they should be fine.
Probably get away, yeah.
And Warzone here as well, so Bebios has to be a little bit careful. Stark seeing a potential opportunity, not going to go in. Just use the hook shot to make his way out. Kindred secures the blue buff. SuperMassive get control back over their jungle and are now looking to take a little bit away from EVOS.
And despite a lot of the thoughts of, hey, SuperMassive are going to just crush 3-0 on EVOS, this is a very even game here, and this is pushing SuperMassive to the brink. They're having to pull out all the stops from a macro perspective, and EVOS is definitely testing them in this first game.
It is still pushing their temperament. Will they slow the pace of the game down? SuperMassive do feel like they're answering the tempo constantly as well. This is an example of that. Pretty much immediately after the Baron goes down and is secured, they've acknowledged one lane has it. He's going to be the focal point. Let's get to him before they do, before they can group and set up vision. And even during this play, it doesn't look like EVOS are going to set anything up. They're not going to slow down. They're just going to do it. So you can make those plays. And I think Tom Kench is a brilliant pick right now.
Yeah, it definitely helps them with a second global on the opposite side of the map to kind of answer plays. And something I want to talk about here is it was the Phantom Dancer that came out for Stomage. And hold on, they're actually diving top lane.
There goes the Sterix proc a little bit early. He's trying to stay in the GP. All does get pushed out, but can't go anywhere else. That's a kill, but meanwhile in the mid lane, Stomage doing so much damage out on Run-Up. He can to kill him. Yes, they can. Tarkalt not going to connect. Snowflower zoning off Slay. Inhibitor tower in their sight. The minion has died, though. This one's going to take a long time to chunk through. GBM with the aggressive play. Forces a little bit of movement out there from Slay, but does not connect. Top tier 2 going down. In the meantime, this is a good trade for SuperMassive. They can close it.
Exactly, but on the top side of the map, they're going to try to chase here in mid and make sure that Stark can keep pushing and then potentially wrap around afterwards.
Oh,
It's a little bit hard, though, because Zeitnot just chunked Warzone out. Yijin trying to find the flank, but not quite so easy when the mid laner's at 50%.
They're trying to stall so that Stark can split push and potentially answer the trade in an equal fashion.
Yeah, stop the recalls. He may be able to get the inhibit. Very unlikely, however, that he would get that because they can walk the entire distance. However, a lot of turrets go down. It's an open lane. SuperMassive trying to collapse.
Yeah, if they try to collapse on him here, it creates space for the bottom and the mid. We'll see if EVOS end up pushing that in, but Stark will potentially get away here, but there's Cloud Drakes.
Ooh, and Zeitnot has to be careful. A lot of burst damage in that Camille kit. Is he going to try to turn it? Pool goes out. Stark now running. No chance. Oh, adaptive defense is so close to taking him
He had
down.
to ignite him, because if he had actually just waited for it, he would have probably died because the adaptive defense is there. So the ignite burned through the magic shield and did true damage.
Well, EVS, they are going to make that response on the opposite side of the map. Kill does go over, but they are going to get a Mountain Drake of their own. First objective for them to really fight back with outside of the Baron that didn't quite go for them as planned. And I think 26 minutes in, outside of the Dragons, this feels like a dead even game despite everything we expected.
But it's not order, it's completely chaos. Right now across the rift, skirmishes are the name of the game. SuperMassive are grouping, they're trying to team fight. But EVOS are just saying, absolutely not. Why would we group when we could split push constantly? And that's their win condition currently. At a certain point, they have to group up. But they're trying their hardest to win without it.
And this is one of those win conditions where it could be the way you lose the game as well. If you are having somebody split push, you're at a numbers disadvantage and a hard engage. And SuperMassive have been forcing that with GBM, Snowflower, and even just the GP ultimate from Bad Fabulous. So it could be the undoing of EVOS, but it is kind of their shred of hope in this game to close it out via Stark.
And also, EVOS have to be careful because GBM 5-0-3. This Vladimir is so strong. 3.5 items completed along with the boots. Warzone might be feeling a little bit more hesitant about talking trash about who's Diamond 2 in Korea now because GBM has been everywhere in this game, punishing EVOS.
Yeah, I think that Vladimir is a pick that you really have to watch out for. He goes for 2 penetration items, a lot of movement speed. Then he got the Void Staff on top of it, so he actually just obliterates team fights right now, whether you're squishy or tanky.
Yeah, maximizing his damage output for the 5v5 for sure. Even assassinating people, you can see him flashing over the walls just to zone them away. If they think about stepping up, they'll die. Very confident play coming out of the mid laner of SuperMassive, but at the same time, he's got the team working around him. And you can be confident when you have the Kindred there to keep you alive, even if something goes wrong.
And something that he has to watch out for is the Executioner's Calling on Slay. He went for the double tier into the Executioner's Calling. So if there is a team fight and he can tag GBM's going to have to worry a little bit about how much health he's getting back in these fights.
And this gold graph, gentlemen, tells a very peculiar story about this game. Already you can see, hey, 20 minutes, that Baron comes through. A little bit of a back and forth. That big spike is the Baron. SuperMassive going to look for a big spike of their own.
But it's basically been within 1.5K the entire game, back and forth. So once again, the Baron on the table. It's what you have to watch out for. You also have to watch out for the split push, though.
Jank focus on the bottom side. Stark, though, has to be careful. Fabulous still does a lot of damage here. Starting to see the matchup shift in the favor of Fabulous despite all of the aggression in favor of Stark early game.
Yeah, it looks like he went underneath the turret and took a decent amount of damage there, and that definitely, you know, puts a damper on the Camille. But I want to see what Stark does now. He has the Ravenous Hydra. That means you can full clear the enemy jungle and actually heal up from it. So if he goes for waves, if he goes for the enemy blue buff, he's just denying some resources.
They're picking out on bottom side. They want to get the TP. A little bit of vision here, though. They do know that this is going down. True Shot Barrage is going to confirm any suspicions. Side not throwing in a little bit of poke. Have to be careful around that trap. A lot of damage could come through.
That's a lot of damage.
Yeah. That's that double tier build you're seeing. Just the poke is immense. And most of that is because the Murana gives you more damage based on... Wait, hold on.
Fabulous. Goodbye. They wanted to make a play around the Baron. They're going to have to sacrifice that bottom side.
And now things start to get really spicy for SuperMassive. They had control in the river. They were looking at the Baron as their point to trade where they had strengths. And now they're on the back foot. It means that EVOS can step up. They are right now.
Yeah, and that's Stark, level 17, 30 seconds on Fabulous. They're starting up the Baron. The TP is available, but even if it's a bait, Stark will still have pressure. So what is it? GBM
goes over the wall, uses the ult. Stonemage's trying to buy a bit of time. Rono P has left the pit. Kindred, can she smite it away? The Baron is going to heal up. They're going to try and take him down, but it's Trundle left all on his left. Desir getting it in the end. Oh, dancing with death there in the pit. GBM trying to get something, but he can't get anything back. EVS coming out on top. Sight may be enough. Here comes the Crimson Rush. Oh, GBM's going to get a lot of healing. They are still making it out. SuperMassive have not lost everything, but that is still disastrous.
But you see, the split push has been happening from Stark the whole time, and now he's going to have to get out.
Has to run. Hookshot wall died. There's the tactical sweep. Wants to heal up a bit, but the top laner now set to fall as well. Adaptive defenses buys a bit of time. Snowflower says nope. Eats him up and takes him down.
And completely denies him. Most of the Baron buffs now completely gone. EVOS make a great play looking for the Baron. They want to focus two different places on the map at the exact same time. But SuperMassive do stand defiant. They get the response in, and they make sure that nothing in this game is for free.
Man, Sightnot did so much in that fight. He basically was the one who killed Slay, and I think he even had to go through the Seraph's Embrace shield during that fight, and he just crit him.
Mercilessly, it would appear, but still, only Stark has gone down. This Baron buff still going to be quite effective on the side of EVOS, and now we got to see how well SuperMassive can defend.
Oh man, that was great from Stark. The E into the flash, and the big thing about Camille is the more levels you get, the more percentage of your Q turns into true damage. Level 17, he's almost got that full thing as true damage. You saw that. Look at that, Sightnot. He just obliterates him on the side, gets away after having been exhausted, and he dodges the tear.
There's a bit of a trust fall, however, from the AD carry of EVOS here against Sightnot. You can see they get into the Baron. No smites available. Junglers were just going at it, trying to fight each other. In the end, GBM does get focused quite heavily, but they have to run away because the teleport also even coming and getting cancelled is a big part of why they die in the top.
I believe courtesy of Snowflower there in the base. And now we get to see SuperMassive. You've been playing with the lead in every single one of your games. How well do you play from behind here? EVOS with 2K. That's not the important bit. It is the Baron empowering them as they push down these lanes. Can they keep the tempo up? SuperMassive, can they respond as we get further in the game?
Yeah. Remember, the Baron #1 was only on to Stark. This time around, 3 people have it. They're team play members as well. So while Stark doesn't have it in the side lane, the group, trio in this case, actually does.
And they're 1-3-1ing with their double teleport. And this is kind of something they had set up for from the start. And GBM, he's going to have to answer Warzone here.
Has he seen him? He has now.
Trying to go in, actually wants to fight. Warzone does a lot of damage. GBM trying to buy a bit of time. There comes Caitlyn going in. Beautiful team play to bring it in. Warzone saw a 1v1, but now there's one on the top as well. Snowmage still healing up. Stark going to get taken down. Members being picked off left and right.
Both the split pushers, you have to be able to cover them with vision and collapse at the right times, and that's exactly what SuperMassive are doing. GBM was able to get behind and then caught Warzone off guard.
But are they collapsing at the right time, or are EVOS pushing at the wrong time? That's the age-old question that we'll have to explore here. Stark, he knows that his other members are fighting on the bottom side, doesn't really notice that Snowmage is here and sees an opportunity, perhaps on the fly, to take the kill, but he was already out of position. His team's in mid lane. His mid lane is dead in bottom.
Yeah,
what you doing?
I think he's just trying to create space.
Hey, he definitely made some space. Sadly, it was just for Warzone to fall as well on the bottom side. The team not able to get anything back, may not even be able to hold on to this inhibitor. Zite not playing without any kind of fear, despite the struggles they found so far. But Slay reminding him why he might want to be a little bit cautious. And Snowflower could be in trouble. Do they actually turn to take this fight, or is he just going to be the sacrificial catfish?
Where's that TP? Oh, TP from
down.
Fat Fabulous.
Warzone coming into the mid lane.
Oh,
Another.
Another one.
Fabulous. This is not what you want to deal with. The movement speed is there. Warzone trying to throw down a bit of damage. The rest of the team just retreating. They're willing to sacrifice Fat Fabulous as well.
Here comes the E from Stark.
Derek, this is not what you can afford to miss. There you go. Tactical sweep takes him down in the end. EVOS getting a kill back.
And now's an opportunity for them to have not just one kill, but two, and they're already next to the base of SuperMassive. Top lane is exposed, so they could just walk up there if they would like, but why not threaten the mid lane and get all three if you like?
Yeah, I think they might get all three here. Pushing up, you can see they just obliterate that turret. They have one Mountain Drake to their name. They might just try to end the game here.
2 members down. EVOS looking for the first win. Good momentum. Beautiful start. Goodbye, Zeitnot. Stark getting home. Snowmage running for his life. GBM in the middle of everything, but it's not going to be enough. The shutdown coming through. EVOS, 1 tower remaining. Minions are there to back them up. Snowflower, not enough to take it home. Ladies and gentlemen, game 1 going in the favor of EVOS. That's how they want to start it.
Exactly how we thought it would play out with the way that the lanes were going. Stark, the star of that game, and then Zeitnot and GBM, the ones trying to carry their team. But oh man, looking at Fat Fabulous' scoreline, 1-6-5. He was bullied by EVOS, and that's something that, as we go forward in this series, they have to think about.
This man was the king of Gangplank in the group stage. Now he might have to take a step back, be the king of tank duty as it goes through, because Stark absolutely crushing on the top side, and clearly something has to change for SuperMassive, because you cannot give that champion to Stark.
They managed to make their composition work when they didn't have a lot of crowd control, SuperMassive, for a significant part of that game, but it was the objective control, getting around the Baron, looking for these major focal points where they started to get pulled apart. And I do think that is something that the composition can actually be mended by if they get something else. Now, I'm not going to say that it's just tank duty for the top laner, because he's now trying to clear waves as well against the relentless split pushing of his opponents. But they could have something else, perhaps even instead of the Tahm Kench. I do think Braum is now another pick that has to crop back up one more time.
And while SuperMassives were the favorites coming into this series, the predictions outside of Shocks have now been shattered after that Game 1 win for EVOS. And a lot of people are wondering, are we going to see the run back from last MSI? Is this going to be the 3-1 from the Vietnam representatives, EVOS this time, instead of the Gigabyte Marines?
When you see Fat Fabulous there, that's something that has to be on his mind right now. Is this a repeat of last year's? The grudge match going to be resulting in the VCS in Vietnam coming out where nobody expected them to be the ones that came out on top. This region that was emerging for such a short time came up and just became the cream of the crop right on the cusp.
And I feel like we never learned, because we saw the same thing last year when Gigabyte Marines came in and they proved everybody wrong. I feel like we always, analysts, everybody looks at Vietnam, you look at their regional play, and people always underestimate these guys on the international stage, but today they are showing up. Now, for a closer breakdown of Game 1, let's hand it over to the State Farm Analyst Desk.
Thank you very much, Dracos. It's going to be an absolute whitewash for the side of SuperMassive. They're going to beat them 3-0, and it's going to not take longer than an hour and a half. There is no chance in hell that EVOS beats SuperMassive. What do you have to say for yourselves?
What do you got to say for yourself, Raz?
I have a pretty poor record. You have what's
I
your
have a
excuse?
trash record.
Okay.
I am not a good prediction person, but
All jokes aside, EVOS showing up, showing everyone wrong, indeed, and that is exactly it. You don't know what they're going to bring, and they brought the fire.
yeah, exactly right. Well, I think we did know how they were going to play. I just don't think we expected the cleanness of execution and the disrespect that came out of the draft of SuperMassive.
Well, that's the question. Was it clean or wasn't it? Because
I would say the early game when they built the advantage was certainly clean. I mean, they were able to pick up a 2v2 kill. They camped out top lane. Like, all of those things were nice in the gameplay.
And you talked about picks and bans. You say disrespect from the side of SuperMassive. What exactly?
They got their most played champion in every role, EVOS, which, I haven't coached in a very long time, Raz. You have done it more recently than I when you rarely get a Dignitas.
Wait a second.
But
Hold
I think
on.
that is a bad plan to go into a draft with.
I would say the one that I would probably take out would be the Camille. But but regardless of that, I think both teams got drafts that worked out well for them. The Kindred is the only one most people would be wondering about, but that's a good matchup into the Trundle. And or at least the Tahm Kench covers for it, so that at least there's some protection in team fights. So that one is fine. What I did not like, and I challenge you in terms of cleanliness.
Yeah.
That, like, the moment the towers came down, right? And I'm just already surpassing the 2v2. And
We are going to watch that, though, in a bit. So
it'll
maybe.
happen. But the only thing I'm worrying about is the fact that EVOS, when they are pushing bottom lane, an extra wave, Camille's going to lose a wave because they decided to swap late.
Yep.
And then Somaj does not go to protect the dual lane when they're going top side, so then they just get outright ganked in the lane,
So,
and the 2v2 dies because they're just not protected in long lanes. Both of these teams in swapped matchups were playing incredibly scrappily.
So I love that you're so passionate about that. You're like, I just have to say this right now. Let's take a look at the lead up
Okay,
because
yeah,
a lot
that's
happened.
fair.
No, I absolutely appreciate that point.
Yeah.
But let's take a look at the lead up because, as you said, there was a lot going on in bottom lane as well. Very early on, EVOS decide to make the action happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've seen, if you've watched any VCS, you've seen this exact 2v2 run so many times from RunOP as well as Slay. They like to be aggressive, but Snowflower in this game for me, if somehow SuperMassive were going to win, would have been my MVP because his Tahm Kench play was incredibly clean.
Yeah, netting a lot of kills for himself just because he was the person who was setting up a lot of plays that SuperMassive were coming back as a response to EVOS' initial fights.
So in that, they decide to target bottom lane. And we were talking so much about the top lane, which will become very
that's
interesting
fair.
later on. We're talking so much about the mid lane, but SuperMassive, even in the group stage, they are insane bottom lane. They have an insane forward percentage. They play super aggro. So I think it was actually a smart adaptation also from EVOS to try and target that early.
Yeah, what I was surprised about, because remember my prediction was caveated, or at least what I said was that the style that SuperMassive have of being able to not be taken in by these skirmishes and fights. We've seen them go up against the group where they went up against direwolves, a lot of that scrappiness, they could just push back.
Yep.
They didn't have to go for it. And so this time around, all of my expectations shattered because a lot of the skirmish they found themselves in time and time again.
But wasn't all over. We had bottom lane action. It kind of stabilized, and it went to a point where EVOS thought that they could do a Baron quite early on. We're going to take a look at that, brought to you by Acer, because that call was just a bit off the charts. Now, I know Kindred is low, so you think you can go for it, but it's not played out correctly at all.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we see the ward over the back of the pit. They thought there wasn't one there because of the control ward bottom of red side. They should have known there could have been. Stark goes over, assassinates the jungle. If Kindred gets in that pit and lays down an ultimate, Baron does not die, and SuperMassive wipes the team fight. So even though the team fight looks bad, they go 4 members down for 1 and Baron. It still could have potentially been worse, but that is a very VCS kind of play. Like
So
20 minutes, rush Baron.
Sorry, I'm very excited, so I
That's
keep
all right.
stepping on you. Raz, the call, did you agree with the call in essence, or even not that?
I disagreed with the call just because they didn't have the members to tank it properly, and if they were going to be put into that pit going up against GP, Vladimir, even if they get the Baron, the issue is that they would still be wiped, even if Camille was still in the pit. So I felt like I didn't know what they wanted. If you just have Camille leaving out that fight alone with Baron, you have to have a lot of faith that you can utilize that 1 Baron buff to be able to net yourself an advantage after losing 4 kills.
So at that point in time, SuperMassive gets 4 kills. Usually when they get a lead at 20, they don't lose a single game. We saw that in the group stage here. Now they were even at 20 minutes. And this is where it all turns, because you think that SuperMassive, if I listen to my analysts who know the macro game and who are better at playing the correct game, at that point in time, they should have the best cards going into the rest of the game. What happened, Raz?
Camille happened. Ravenous Hydra Camille stuck to the side lane. Now remember that play when they were going inhib trade bottom lane for inhib trade chop, because I thought that was a really good play from EVOS, being able to hold the enemy team so they can get a top lane tower. And it just became that Camille was suddenly the tower hunter, the objective hunter. It was just going to be all on Camille to be able to find those lanes and find GP specifically, because that was Fab Fabulous getting caught out.
And this was the matchup we were looking at, that top lane rematch, Stark versus Fab Fabulous. A lot of hope for Fab Fabulous to do good, but that Camille rinsed him.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what had happened earlier is Stark had forced him off the turret, and Fab Fabulous had to burn ultimate. That means that they can go for the second Baron play of the game. Whilst this team fight looks good because Zeitnot plays like a god, with Stamage going down, they can't secure Baron. And this was a tale of EVOS just not respecting setup. They just did not care about setup whatsoever. They played the game around, we are going to get a pick and we're just going to go to an objective. They weren't clearing out wards. They weren't doing absolutely anything along those lines.
I hear a bit of annoyance because that is not the way the game is supposed to be played correctly, but it's working. So how can you fault them for it?
It's just slipping teams up. I can't fault them for it because it's Fabulous, it's SuperMassive that are falling to it, and it comes down to the adaptation. Because this is not perfect play, but it has to be a play that you can challenge.
It's their play, though.
Exactly.
It's their play.
It is their play, and so it's a challenge to now SuperMassive to come back in game 2 and to come to respect it. I would say the immediate thing that I would love to see coming out of SuperMassive is Stomage. I don't care if he plays Kindred. I don't think it's the pick that matters. It's position that matters. So if you're in long lanes, be on the opposite side of the map, or at least be with your dual lane to protect them. Snowflower is a god in game 1, and maybe you'll be able to take those skirmishes cleanly in game 2.
Well, we see here the comfort picks that you said SuperMassive gave over to EVOS. Very high win rates on each of them. But I do have to ask, if it's champions that we haven't seen in the play-ins and that don't seem to be part of the meta, like, you can't go and start banning out everything that everyone's been successful on the entire split, or do you disagree?
I kind of think that when you prepare for a team, game 1 is like the fishing game if you haven't played them before. So you have to, because you look at something, you say that's really sloppy, and then it's played against you and you're like, actually, it's really effective. That aggression works.
Yeah.
So I think that I would have got rid of the top side because we keep talking about it. Like, it is a telegraphed play style that you know they're going to play that, and Camille is his most comfortable champion. So I can excuse a Taric Ezreal, maybe you're not expecting a level 2 all in, but Camille does the same linear thing. Split push all day, and if that is not what you want to play against because you want to play bottom lane focus, you have to respect that.
Yeah, and I don't respect the Azir pick because Gank by Mom was doing incredibly well in the Vladimir matchup, so he is going to be hunting for it. The Ezreal and Taric were sure they had a really solid play on the bottom side of the map, but you can play very well with the Camille as well, or at least the Caitlyn. So the matchups are fine, and the success rates, every team has a high success rate because they've done incredibly well in their own region.
Yeah, good point.
The Camille is just a strong pick for Stark, and I think I agree holistically that take the Camille away, put him on another pick that is a lot more bruisery, or it's going to be harder to set the objective, and GP will be a lot more contested.
So expectations have been put on their head. SuperMassive is not going to cleanly close this out very easily. EVOS is strong, plays their own game. Do you think SuperMassive has what it takes to upset EVOS's gameplay and play their own tune?
Look, you asked us first time around, and we said 3-0. We were wrong the first time around.
You can change your prediction.
I ain't changing anything. Oh, I kind of have to. 3-1.
Yeah, the series starts now. I think that we said when we were looking at the other GPL region that they kind of hit you once and then the response comes out. This game will tell us a lot because the game kind of got out of control, got very degraded and scrappy. I'm still sticking with a 3-0. The series starts now, but
you're disqualified.
Okay, but I think they're much better than I thought they were. Credit where credit's due. EVOS is a much cleaner, not cleaner, much quicker team than I thought they were.
Sticking to your prediction, I'll talk to you when EVOS go up 2-0. We'll see. When we return, we'll find out if SuperMassive can bounce back after that loss. Don't go anywhere.